Welcome to Downshift, my name is Matt, and this is the big brown booby bouncer, or as GMC calls it, their Sierra HD 2500 Denali Ultimate. And it is stuffed with the coolest and craziest features that you can think of. So here are the 28 most interesting things going on with this truck. Now the first thing is chrome. The Denali thing has always been chrome, but as a millennial, I've been trained not to like chrome. So they've given us what they call dark chrome, and you can see it here in the grille. It is just darker. For contrast, we have our lower front recovery hooks down there finished in normal chrome. But your GMC logo, your grille, all of your grille detailing around the front fascia, this, whatever this is, that's dark chrome, and then down there in your lower front fascia. But as we start to walk around the truck, we see that they're back to their old ways. That is normal conventional chrome. Wing mirror, conventional chrome. Window treatments, door handles. This is still dark chrome. But yeah, all conventional over here. And then we come all the way around the back, and still conventional chrome, conventional, and then dark chrome. I mean, isn't there a rule about mixing metals or chromes? And I want to talk about one more grille detail, and it's not just the fact that it's absolutely massive, but it's this little embossed piece right here. You can see it says HD, and that's on the driver's side. Doesn't say anything on the passenger side, and to be honest, based on all the ads that I've seen, I'm surprised it doesn't say HDNA.
There's DNA. Then there's heavy-duty DNA. HDNA.
But then moving our attention upwards a bit, we have this interesting, very Cadillac looking hood ornamentation. This blade is very, very cool looking, and it's actually functional. We can open up the hood. We can see that it sucks air into there and then feeds it down there. Pretty interesting. Nice little luxe detailing for your Denali Ultimate. And then we'll talk about the headlights. You can see the new LED running light design. It's very cool, very imposing on the highway. And then we can see inside of the headlight casing itself, it says GMC. Now that in and of itself is not uncommon, but what is uncommon are these arrows to make sure that the headlights are installed correctly. I don't know. Now this is the Sierra Denali HD, and it says HD everywhere.
HDNA.
But technically, the name for it is the Sierra 2500 as opposed to the 1500. And really the only place that it says that is right about here. And of course, it's in dark chrome because it's the Ultimate. And of course, as you can see, this thing is completely massive, as you would expect, so you do need to have marker lights. The interesting thing is you have them on the roof rather than Raptor style in the grille. That would be unbecoming of the ultimate professional grade truck, but you do have them on the roof. And of course, in classic GM fashion, you have your offset shark fin, but why have the shark fin and the floppy antenna? But why? But another rule of the marker lights is they have to designate the extreme ends of the vehicle, meaning the full width, which is why you have ambers on the outside of your headlights. You do have these ambers in your wheel arches, which are hexagonal, you could say. It even says GMC in there, very cheeky little detail. This will be amber, of course. On your rear as well, still says GMC. But now I want to talk about one of my favorite things about this truck, and it's actually the paint. It's called Redwood Metallic, and it's awesome. It looks fantastic in midday sunlight. It's mostly brown, but with like a slight hint of like mahogany or burgundy, and I think it pairs incredibly well with the interior that they call Alpine Umber. We'll talk about this more in a minute. I've been wanting to make a downtown brown joke all week, but it's actually just, it's too good to make a joke like that. And of course we have to talk about this fender badge. As you can see, it has a topographical or relief map underlay of Denali's supple peak. And then of course you've got your ultimate trim designation. That's very Maserati of them. And also shout out to the Allison 10-speed transmission. This thing gets so much love. I don't know, I don't pretend to be a super manly man. Do people really care that much about the Allison 10-speed? Leave it in the comments. And then there's the door handles. They're chrome, as we talked about earlier, but look, no touch release here, and a little touch release here on the front. So, $95,000 truck, only capacitive touch for the front. Kind of like the windows, which are only auto up-down for the front and not the rear. A little bit annoying. And you may have noticed something when I opened the door. power deploying running boards, and they're pretty nice. They're a nice width. Problem is, if you got big feet, it doesn't quite pop out super far, so just be careful when stepping on, especially in the wintertime. And then we got to talk about bed steps, because you've got a 7-foot box, so you've got steps in the front near the cab and also in the classic rear bumper area. Apparently the F250, the new one, also has a cab area bumper step or a bed step, and Ford owners are so displeased by this that they're going to the third party or the aftermarket to remove that, saying that they don't want their truck to look like a GM truck. But to be honest, seems pretty practical. I mean, 7 feet is a far way to grab from just the back of the bed. This is pretty convenient. And then of course, this gets the multi-pro tailgate, not the multi-flex tailgate, because this is professional grade. This is the GMC Ultimate, which means that there's like 7 different ways that you can open this tailgate. Of course, there's this way, there's this way, and that exposes your kicker audio system in your tailgate. Now, I'm not going to say that it's great or has amazing sound quality, but what other trucks can you get an audio system built into your tailgate? But it's just kind of nice to have this flexibility. You can drop the whole thing, and then not only do you have your bed steps here to get into the truck, as you normally would, but you can put this down and get into the bed this way. And of course, you've got the little grab knob, which is suggestive, to say the least. And then one of the main events, the bed itself. It is a 7-foot bed, like I mentioned. It's got a max payload of about 3,000 pounds. It can be up to about 4,000 pounds, but it's about 3,000 for this Denali Ultimate. It is 5th wheel ready. It's under my wood sheets under here. There's also drains under my wood sheets, but just something to note. And then of course, why would you not have Denali printed on the back of your bed? Pretty practical. Of course, you get outlets, and then you get additional pins for your 5th wheel. Pretty sweet. 3,000 pounds isn't bad. And what goes with payload but towing? Now the Sierra HD
HDNA
will top out at 22,000 pounds in the proper spec, which is just insane. That's what you get with almost 1,000 pound-feet of torque and a super strong frame. Wow. And then there's the rear seats, which are fantastic, but I want to talk about some of the detailing. Now, this, like I said, is the Alpine Umber interior. So you get this gorgeous brown leather, cross white stitching, white piping, additional white stitching. You've got some wood in here, some nice bright work from your Bose accenting, but you get this topographical map stuff that we talked about earlier, embossed in the leather and even down here as well. And then of course, in your typical fashion, well, you got 2-tone interior here, which is nice. Folds up for additional storage, and of course is where you got your jack. And in typical GM fashion, you can open the seat back, so you can put contraband and stuff in here. You do not have a pano roof, but I can jump in. My wife put this seat back so she could sleep, but let me pop over here, because this is where I would normally sit as a driver. I'm 6'1", I have miles of knee room in here. I've got vents, I've got chargers, USB-C, USB-A, 3-level heated seats, cup holders, more cup holders, power rear window. I mean, it's brilliant back here. I love the detailing too with the leather work. And then some glove box chat. Now, it's not super uncommon to have 2 glove boxes, although I did have an issue with this upper one releasing this week. Give it a little push and then it's fine. Now, I think this is a one-off issue because the 1500 Sierra Denali Ultimate that we had earlier, no problem with this, and it was the same piece. Wood, nice open pore, and then you still have that etching for the relief map of Denali. And then the coordinates to its supple peak. I would summit the crap out of this peak. And the Ultimate details don't stop there. You do have Ultimate kick plates. Again, Ultimate trim designation, relief map, and then of course the coordinates to that supple peak. Nice floor mats too. Little metal tab, very classy. And how can we not talk about the seats themselves? Again, Denali with the coordinates, with the etched in, or the embossed leather work, I should say, heated, cooled, massage controls down here. And of course, typical GM fashion, you can have the cooling, or you can have heated just for your back, or for your back and your butt. Super, super nice. Love the way they look too. I love the white piping and the stitching and all of the details you get with the Ultimate here. And here's a small detail you might have missed. Of course, you have fold-down visors, and as typical, they have some place to put cards or something like that. They're wrapped in Alcantara or suede, which is very luxe and matches the rest of the headline, but you pull it down, you have a mirror here, which is pretty typical, but it doesn't totally face me. It's looking a little bit different, but this is where, if I put my lens right in front of my face, which is where it should be, you can see that I really can kind of just see that rear seat. So it's more for rear seat recon than to actually look at myself. Interesting. Probably wouldn't have noticed, but gonna have to pull it off of its tab if you want to actually look at yourself. And then moving to your center console, of course you have buttons for stuff. Now it's interesting, this is where the all window down button was in the 1500, so we don't get that for the HD for some reason, which is interesting. And then we've got our hill descent button, which is twice as wide as any of the other buttons. Twice as wide as exhaust brake, lane departure, parking sensors, tailgate release, hazards, and traction control. And still, no windows all down. Why? And then there's your center infotainment system, which is over 13 inches measured diagonally, which is pretty dang big. And you do have Google built in, so you have things like your Google Assistant. You can split the screen so you can constantly have Google Maps up if you want, which is pretty great. And then of course you've got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Fantastic, love that. Throw it in reverse. And we've got pretty good 360 cameras. Weird, it doesn't go all the way across, which is the same thing we saw in the 1500, but the resolution is pretty great. You've got a bunch of different angles. You've got wings, you've got trailer hitch mount, you've got a bed cam, all sorts of stuff. Super helpful trailering stuff back here as well. And your shifter is man spec, classic man spec, or Mercedes spec, depending on who you are. And then there's your steering wheel. Like I said, it doesn't have Super Cruise, but it does say Denali here on the center with some pretty traditional chrome. Some little scratchy black plastic stuff, which is a little interesting detail, kind of nice. Got some adaptive cruise stuff here. Not really lane keep, but this is kind of okay. But then you do have the classic buttons back here for your song skip. On the other side, for your volume. Overall, I kind of liked it. What I didn't like so much is the fact that you manually adjust the steering wheel. This is a $95,000 truck. We've touched on it twice, no Super Cruise. Not sure if this is an HD thing or a chip shortage thing, but just something to note. And then in here, you've got your 12-inch digital instrument cluster. It's pretty customizable. You can control that panel, the center panel, and the other side panel. You've got two different drive modes, including, well, plus a trailering mode, which is there, but you flip it over to the left, you've got normal mode, and then to the right, you've got off-road mode, and then the truck does a little dance. And you also have a nice head-up display, which you can change with different information, including off-road, telemetry, pitch, roll, yaw, and that sort of thing. And we've saved one of the best till last. We'll talk about the engine. This, of course, is the Duramax 6.6 turbo diesel V8. It makes about 470 horsepower here. Pretty decent number, but not crazy. The crazy numbers, of course, and obviously the torque figure for this diesel, 975 pound-feet. And you feel that. You feel very much when the turbo comes on here. This thing is quicker than it has any business doing when the turbo comes in. And of course, lastly is price. We've mentioned it a number of times here, but as tested, this is $95,000, which is a crap load of money. But it's kind of something that you start to expect from this class of vehicle. I mean, the Ram Rebel 2500 that we tested earlier this summer was about $90,000, and it doesn't have half the luxe stuff that this thing does, and it didn't ride as well. And well, just watch that video if you're still interested. But yeah, 95 grand is a big pill to swallow here. So those are the 27 most interesting things about Big Brown. Make sure to stay tuned for our full and comprehensive review of this truck coming next week. We'll see you then.